Good day, my dear project managers for both cohorts 42B and 42F. I'm very happy to see you. Just as I promised, I am recording the class for week 9. And also, kind of like what I mentioned, I'm going to be dividing the class in two. As you know, I usually teach for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. My classes are long, right? But as I had already recommended, I'm going to divide this class in two. Probably I'll spend 35, 40 minutes first, doing the introduction, doing the first part. And I'm going to be recording the second part also. And I recommend you actually watch the class. Either if you're going to watch it like the 40 minutes and then the other 40 minutes, just take some breaks because it may be a lot of information. We have almost 50 slides. So that's why I'm kind of like giving you the heads up so you can plan, right? And of course, bring your coffee. And as you said, you're going to be taking notes, right? And you're going to be using your laptop. You're going to be ChatGPTing some things, Googling some other things, just like we do in class. And well, welcome. Thank you very much for watching this class. Let me start sharing our presentation. And also something important, I will not be sharing this presentation on Moodle, and I'm going to tell you why. So unfortunately, by sharing the presentation on Moodle, some students say, oh, well, you know what? It's not necessary for me to watch the video, which is like not coming to class. Remember, I have always mentioned not coming to class is actually missing a lot of information that it's provided to you, information that it's not in the presentation. So it's pretty much the same situation. You have to watch this class, recorded class, so you can take your notes, so you can also take the time to analyze the information, to digest the information, to ChatGPT examples, to look for examples on Google, etc., just like we do in class. And as you know by now, because we are now in week 9, my classes are not like regular other classes, right? It's not about the content. It's about what we do with the content, right? So it's very important that you do watch this class, complete the whole thing, because you need to take notes. And most importantly, because next class, we're going to have a quiz. And all the information that's going to be shared in this class today, week 9, even if it's divided into different videos, it's going to be included in our quiz. And of course, it's going to be included in our midterm. I had already some conversations with some students at the end of the class last week, in which we understand the importance of, trying to catch up and doing the right thing from now on. So let's begin. Without further ado, we acknowledge that we're situated on the unceded traditional territories of the Musqueam, the Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh nations, to which we are forever grateful. Now, I'm going to be taking attendance based on your notes. So make sure to upload your class notes, just like you do when we take the class at school at VCC downtown. So once you upload the images of your handwritten notes, I will take those notes as class participation, okay? In this case, I want to see also in your notes, whatever you Google, keywords, just like we do in class. Do not copy the whole presentation, just like we do in class. Just keywords and whatever you find interesting, etc. Okay, very good. So last class, we talked about change management, right? And how this relates to contract management, how these changes are going to be affecting our contracts. And we started on the introduction to negotiation. However, we did this in a very quick way, right? We were only able to talk about social exchange theory and a little bit about another theory, which is the reciprocity norm. That's why today I'm going to start again, and I'm going to recap on those two theories. So it's we are sure that we understand, because we did finish a little bit quick last class, and I don't want to go so quickly through these topics because they're so interesting. Not only so interesting, they're the basics. They're the basis, the framework to understand negotiations, okay? So today we'll have a recap on the introduction to negotiation, influence, and persuasion. We will start talking now about some negotiation processes and concepts, some techniques and strategies for effective contract negotiations, techniques and strategies of effective contract negotiations. And of course, our learning objectives are to talk about negotiations, interests, and positions, and of course, win-win deals in negotiations. So this is everything we're going to be talking about. And this is the visual image of what we'll be talking about. Again, I will take it from social exchange theory and reciprocity norm. However, our main objectives are Cialdini's principles on influence and, of course, negotiations, the different techniques and approaches we have towards negotiations. Okay, very good. So let's move on. Week 9, async lesson. Thank you. Introduction to negotiations. So last class, we started talking about how society and psychology and sociology, they influence how we negotiate, right? We started talking about how, based on all these different sciences, we explain how persuasion takes place, how we come to an agreement with other person, right? And we also mentioned that this is not only for project managers, but this is also happening in our personal lives. However, I would like to begin by addressing the topic, the point that according to the Project Management Institute, as we know, there is a triangle, the talent triangle for project managers, and all project managers need to be savvy in three main topics, three main areas, which is, of course, the strategic and business management, the project technical management, which is all the knowledge, of course, all the raw concepts, definitions, etc. However, leadership is one of the parts of this talent triangle for project managers, according to the PMI. And in leadership, we're going to find that negotiation is one of these skills, key skills for project managers to be successful. And that is the reason why the second part of our course focuses on negotiations in general, but also in the framework of project management. So there are different types of negotiation skills. Of course, communication. We keep talking about communication. Yes, we know the theory, but we need to put it in practice. And actually, today, as I said before, you're going to be recording a video of 10 minutes in which I need to see those communication skills. I need to see you, just like I am right now sharing. I need to see you sharing, right? With your notes, with your class notes, sharing what you found interesting, what you found maybe confusing, why not? What you found interesting for you, for your personal life, maybe not for professional, but personal life. Of course, emotional intelligence. Remember, I keep telling you, calm down, breathe, emotional intelligence, right? Problem-solving skills, adaptability, and mostly persuasion. And that's why we're going to be talking today so much about that topic of persuasion. And we're going to take it again from some of the theories that we mentioned at the end of our last class. So at the end, every day, project managers are always going to negotiate, okay? Always, not only with clients. Stop thinking only about contracts and negotiating with clients or with suppliers. You're going to negotiate with your team members, right? Within your same teams. You're going to be negotiating with sponsors. You're going to be negotiating with Scrum Masters. You're going to be negotiating with team facilitators. You're going to be negotiating with directors, managers from other areas in the organization. So that's why this is such an important skill. Now, in this complex web of interdependencies, understanding the why behind human behavior is what separates a good manager from a great leader. And that's why we're going to be talking about those theories, right? Social exchange and reciprocity norm. These are social theories that are going to help us understand why humans act the way they act. Human beings act the way they act. And that's going to make us, trust me, that's going to make us more successful at the end of any negotiation. Now, this is important. Simply knowing what to do is not enough. Understanding why a particular approach works provides the strategic flexibility to handle any negotiation. Because I wish I could tell you, Oh, use social exchange. Oh, use reciprocity. Or from Cialdini, use, I don't know, one of the different topics, I don't know, authority, for example, right? Or consistency. I wish I could tell you, use that one. It's not that easy. We need to be flexible and be ready to use and adapt to any theory, any technique, any tool we have. That's why we need to understand all the different tools we have. So at the moment of negotiating, we know which tools are better. If this is not working, then we can try another one. If we cannot persuade the other person with this theory, with this tool, maybe we can use another tool, etc. But the more tools we have, the more tools we have, the more abilities we have, the easier this will be. Now, let's move on then. This is where delving into the sociological and psychological underplanning of negotiation becomes critical. So models just like social exchange theory and reciprocity norm and Cialdini's principles, of course, are not just academic ideas. They are a predictive framework for human interaction. I repeat, write this down. These theories, along with many others, but these are the most important, okay? These are usually predictive frameworks for human interactions. I can tell, usually, anyone can tell based on the relationship you have with suppliers, of course, with your team members, of course, with your sponsor, etc. We will know based on that type of relationship you have, how successful, how likely to succeed you are based on that type of relationship you have. So that's why this is so, so important, okay? They answer the fundamental question, these theories are going to answer the fundamental question every project manager faces. This is key. How can I influence others to achieve project goals while maintaining positive, productive relationships? That's the goal of all the second part of this course. How can I do, what can I do to make sure that I'm more likely to succeed when negotiating at any moment during my professional, my personal life? And this is where these theories come along. The first one, social exchange theory and reciprocity. At its core, both social exchange theory and reciprocity norm describe the human tendency to engage in give and take. Give and take. However, they operate on different timelines and with different underlying assumptions. And that's what I want to emphasize because we did cover this so quickly last class that we didn't really have time to perhaps understand. So here we go again. Social exchange theory views negotiation as a process of exchanging resources such as money, information, trust, etc. This theory emphasizes that relationships, whether personal, professional, or organizational, are always going to be built on mutual benefits. I make something, you make something. In other words, when we negotiate, we are not just trading goods or services, we're also, this is the key, exchanging value in the form of trust, collaboration, and I must emphasize, long-term partnerships. So this is the general sociological theory, okay, in which usually humans are going to weigh the cost against benefits while forming relationships. What am I making out of this relationship, out of this contract, out of this agreement, etc., etc. Now, I'm going to add a little bit more to understand social exchange theory. It's a win-win mindset focused on the immediate transaction. And maybe that's what we didn't really define last class. Reciprocity, as we will see in a minute, it's in the future. However, social exchange theory happens right at the moment, okay? And this immediate transaction where both parties consciously and simultaneously adjust their position to create value satisfies their core interest. The exchange is happening in real time, and the goal is to achieve a fair balance on the spot. And the examples, remember, that we saw, it's the city of Vancouver, but also the government of British Columbia, of course, with perhaps our St. Paul's Hospital that is being built near the Pacific Central Station, right? And we saw this is important. I'm going to read them. In this case, this negotiation involves exchanging financial resources for expertise and reliability. Okay, by understanding social exchange theory, we can better navigate negotiations by focusing on creating value for all parties involved, fostering trust and building relationships. And we just mentioned that, going beyond the transaction. And in the example that we saw in the hospital, right? Both parties win something. Remember, I even remember in some classes, and if not, you can AI, go to DeepSeek or go to ChatGPT, okay, and try to ask, okay, in the relationship between St. Paul's Hospital and the government of the city of Vancouver, what is the exchange theory? What is each party gaining? And I believe we did this in class, and I believe some of the answers you got is that, of course, the government was providing, of course, all the financial resources, of course, money. That is money, of course, you're getting money. But also, many of the suppliers who are collaborating with the city of Vancouver in the construction of St. Paul's Hospital, they're also gaining name, right? They're also gaining, well, just to be able to say I'm working with the city of Vancouver, prestige, right? So there are many things that all these suppliers are gaining. However, also the city of Vancouver is gaining something. What is it gaining? Well, the expertise. This hospital being built by the best they could find. And that is an explanation of the social exchange theory. Oh, battery is running low. Okay, I may have to pause for a minute. Give me a minute and I'll come back in just a minute. Okay, I'm back. I just needed to press, the charger wasn't put very, very well. So I just pressed and ta-da, magically it worked. I know. Like sometimes when we're in the classroom, remember, and I know, and the projector turns off just like that. I know, it's not time for a break though. We've been here only for 20, 25 minutes, so keep going. All right, guys. So I'm going to give you an easier example to understand in this case. Social exchange theory concepts. The negotiation is a process of exchanging resources to maximize mutual benefits and maintain a valuable working relationship. And again, I can see this is something is going on with the battery. Again, I'm going to have to pause. Give me a second and I'll be right back. Okay, it's working. I don't know what's going on with the laptop this time. Okay, so let's move on. So we already talked about this. The negotiation is a process of exchanging resources to maximize mutual benefits and maintaining a valuable working relationship. So another example, aside from St. Paul's Hospital, is this relationship that we have between a company that is called Slack. You can Google it, okay? It's a software development company. And for example, in the example that I'm providing here, in a private sector, a Vancouver-based software company like Slack might negotiate a new enterprise contract with a large Canadian bank like RBC, Royal Bank of Canada, right? And the exchange involves a Slack offering maybe a discount price, yes, and dedicated support in return for Royal Bank of Canada committing to a multi-year contract and serving as a public reference case. The value is created and captured immediately within the agreement. So this is a more clear example, just like the St. Paul's Hospital, of social exchange theory. We both win something, okay? And as we move on with the next slide, let me see. There you go. Now let's talk about reciprocity, okay? And I'm also going to give you another example. With reciprocity, the reciprocity norm, by contrast, is a specific powerful social rule that acts as an engine for many of the social exchanges. And it is deeply ingrained psychological. It is the deeply ingrained psychological pressure we feel to repay in kind what another person has provided to us. The critical difference is the element of time and the uncertainty of repayment. Social norm where if someone does something for you, you feel the obligation to return the favor, but it doesn't have to happen in the moment or immediately. And that image that I just shared with you, in which, for example, you provide a present, right? Like, oh, thank you, you've been so kind. And why is the other guy, what are these guys going like, oh, well, because that means that maybe in the future I will feel obligated to return the favor, right? And we all live this in our personal lives. So this is what I want to emphasize, and maybe we didn't have really the time to emphasize last class. The difference with reciprocity norm is that whatever we do for the other one, we do not get a benefit immediately, but we might get a benefit in the future, but also there's uncertainty if the other person is ever going to return the favor. Yes, and I have a very good example, don't worry. So the reciprocity norm is a powerful social principle that states that people tend to respond to kindness, favors, or similar concessions with similar actions. In negotiations, this means that when one party demonstrates goodwill or offers a concession, the other party is more likely to reciprocate, creating a positive cycle of trust and collaboration that may happen in the future. Okay? Again, the expectation that helping others will increase the likelihood that they will help us in the future. So you see the difference, guys? Question for our exam or final is the only difference between social theory. Reciprocity is actually part of social exchange theory. Yes, I can see some of you asking, it sounds like the same. Yes, reciprocity is actually one of the foundations of social exchange theory. However, in reciprocity, you don't know. You're not thinking, oh, I get a benefit right now. We don't know actually if we're ever going to get the favor back. We're just giving good faith. We're doing something good in good faith, hoping that we might get something in return. And as I told you, the example, this is a very good example, remember? And I think with 42F, I was able to talk a little bit more about this, but now with 42B. So here we go. Royal Bank of Canada has worked with the Immigration Center and with many other associations that help new immigrants come into Canada. So what Royal Bank of Canada offers is free Zoom sessions, free Zoom conferences, talks, etc., with newcomers in which they explain, and this is an example, facts you need to know about banking in Canada. Wednesday, February, blah, 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 this time, etc. Another one, fraud, what it is, how it happens, how to protect yourself against fraud. Another webinar in which people can attend for free. You don't need to be a customer of Royal Bank of Canada to actually attend these events. Now, I was asking in, I believe, 42F, why would Royal Bank of Canada invest so much money in this type of programs with people who are not their clients? They're not their clients, right? All these webinars are offered to new immigrants, right? And I remember it took you some time to answer. But the answer is, well, hoping that maybe in the future, some of these people who may attend the webinar may become their clients in the future, right? These are newcomers, people who just got to Canada. They don't have a bank, but they might think, following some of the either social exchange or more the reciprocity norm in this case, if Royal Bank of Canada did this for me for free, they gave me all this guidance, they gave me all this support, etc. Well, I kind of feel obligated to open my new bank account with them. That is the reciprocity norm. And that's why so many companies and organizations invest so much money in usually things that they don't get an immediate return of. And that's what I need to emphasize here. By understanding and leveraging the reciprocity norm, negotiators can foster stronger relationships, reduce conflict, and achieve mutual benefit outcomes. So The reciprocity norm is often sequential. Remember, it might happen one day. It's not simultaneous. It doesn't mean, oh, you need to become our customer in order to attend our webinars. That's not how it works. Reciprocity is here. Just attend. Don't worry. Give us your email, and if you need us, we're here. And we feel the psychological need to return the favor. Got it? Now, this is a very good example that I also like a lot too. In the reciprocity norm concept, expectation is that people will respond to positive action, a favor, a concession, kindness, with another positive action, returning kindness for kindness another day. When you invoke the reciprocity norm, you're making a strategic investment in the relationship, hoping or strategically expecting that this goodwill will be returned to you in the future, often in a way you cannot perfectly predict. For a project manager, this is about building social capital. And please take the time to take notes about what is social capital. I am adding this term to the reciprocity norm. Social capital is the value we get from our social networks and the things that we do, the things that we make those networks work, like trust, shared values, helping each other out. You trust them, you help each other, well, maybe they'll help you, etc. These things create value. Maybe a friend helps you move, another gives you job advice, or you all chip in to help someone who's having a tough time. That is social capital. Even if you don't want to sound like, oh, maybe I'm just doing this because it's convenient and someday they'll pay me back. Sometimes they may not, right? And that's something we do a lot in Canada. Remember, in Canada, we have this mentality of volunteering, right? we do. And not necessarily you expect something in return. If something comes in return, well, thank you, that's great. But you do not do volunteering immediately expecting a benefit or an immediate response, right? And I like this example that is related to project management. So I'm going to give you time to read. Take some time to read this example because this is about calling in a favor in a project management situation. Take some time to read, and I'll read it in a minute. Okay, so far so good. I'll show you the second part in a minute. So Alex's project is in a crisis. A critical server has failed, sorry, and they are in his team. They need immediate support, right? Priority support from the same vendor, Chloe. So Alex says, Chloe, we have a code red situation. Our production server is down. I know you understand support has a 4-hour response time, but we need someone within the first 30 minutes. Please send us something. We can't wait for the 4 hours. And Chloe, who may be the supplier, responds, Alex, that kind of priority dispatch is reserved for platinum level clients, which your contract doesn't include. You see how it's related to contracts? The process is very strict. I'm sorry. It's almost like Chloe saying, I'm sorry, I can't. But look what comes next. Read it. Okay, you see? Then Alex calls in the favor. And sometimes you will be able to do it, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you just have to expect. But however, he or she, in this case, Alex, is calling the favor. Chloe, I completely understand the policy. I know you told me I need to wait for 4 hours, but we need the help in the next 30 minutes. I'm just asking if you can use your influence. Remember how we fast-tracked that security review for you guys last quarter? And we gave you that glowing testimonial review? Well, I'm really hoping you can pull some strings for us now, please. So come on. It's almost like reminding Chloe, we already did this for you. And somehow Chloe goes like, you know what? she feels this obligation, right? That is the reciprocity norm. You're right, you've been a great partner, and let me make a call. I'll get an engineer on it right now, but consider this a one-time exception, okay? All right, let's do it. This is a perfect example of the reciprocity norm in action, calling in a favor about something that happened in the past. Sometimes you don't know if you're going to be able to get something positive out of it. But in this case, Alex is desperate. And Alex is asking, like, oh, I already did something good for you. Come on. And of course, we feel the obligation to return something good as well. So the last part of this first part of the class, okay, because we're going to have a pause, is going to Cialdini's 6 principles of persuasion. Influence is a critical component of successful negotiations, and understanding the theories behind it can help negotiators achieve their goals more effectively. One of the most widely recognized models is Cialdini's 6 principles of persuasion, which include reciprocity, commitment, social proof, authority, liking, and scarcity. I must emphasize, reciprocity from Cialdini's 6 principles is the same reciprocity norm that we just explained, okay? Okay, just to make sure we understand. I know that a reciprocity norm is a single, yes, model, just like social exchange theory. However, Cialdini takes that first reciprocity norm as one of his 6 principles of persuasion. He understands the importance of reciprocity, and that's why reciprocity is, I believe, the first one of his principles that we'll see in a minute. These principles explain how people can be influenced by appealing to their sense of fairness, desire for consistency, trust in experts, and fear of missing out. So, the dynamic of how we're going to do this is a little bit different of how we do it in the classroom. In the classroom, I will show you the video while you take notes. However, right now, you're going to pause this video and you're going to watch the whole video. Go to YouTube, okay? And you have the link right here. And I'm also going to add the link to week 9, so you can find also the link to the video. Cialdini's 6 principles of persuasion. Make sure while you watch the video, you pause and you take notes only of key words, okay? I'm gonna pause the video right now, okay? To give you time to pause yourselves, right? Watch your video, please. It's about 6-7 minutes, and come back so we can finish this first part of the class recording. Okay, bye-bye. Go, and I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so hopefully by now you have watched the video and you have seen then examples, okay, of each one of these 6 principles. The first one, as you already saw, I'm not going to repeat it, is reciprocity, right? And this example you have on the waiter with the saying something nice or giving a gift, right? And receiving more of a tip. That's a very good example, all right? Then you also have the scarcity, and you have usually this, oh, we only have 5 more left. Place your order right now. You don't want to be left out. So that is also a very common model, a very common principle for persuading someone to take action, maybe to buy something, right? To come on, there are only 2 left. They do that on purpose. So you don't want to miss out, right? I know. So that's scarcity, right? Now, the number 3 is authority. And as you saw, when you see someone with uniform, or if you see usually, that's why you need to have your PMP certification. Because when this comes from someone who has the license, who has the knowledge, the expertise, the credentials, that usually helps people be persuaded. It's not the same if the recommendation is coming from just someone than if the recommendation is coming from a PMP certificate professional. You see, I know, that's why it's so important. You also talked about consistency, right? And I like this because it's not the same when the clients, the patients were asked to write down themselves when they will be coming to their next appointment, because that's more engaging, right? Than just, oh yes, don't worry, we'll make the appointment for you. No, consistency is important too. You also went to liking. When you actually feel you're connected to another person, there are certain similarities. And I really like the liking because that's why it's so important. Did you, you probably took notes on the video. When people had the time to first, hi, how are you? What did you do this weekend? How you try to find things in common. That's why chit chat and small talk is so important in offices, so we can find things in common, and those things in common are going to make us usually more likely to succeed when we try to persuade the other person, because we know we tend to say yes to people we like, people who have something in common with us, right? Very good. And finally, consensus. And that example about the hotel towels is such also a very good example. When they tell you, look, 95%, and we do this when we check the reviews too, right? We all check the reviews before we buy something on Amazon, because we want to make sure, okay, what are people saying? No, I want 4.6, 4.7. I want to buy a product that many other people have tried before. That is consistency. And that's why in the example that I gave you, what do you gain usually as a company? It's not only the money. Sometimes you get the name, right? To be able to say, hey, I've been working with the city of Vancouver, etc. To finish this part of the video, I would like to just mention these examples, real life examples of some of Cialdini's principles of persuasion. For example, in the Canadian retail sector, Canadian Tire uses the principle of social proof by showcasing customer reviews, right, and ratings to influence the purchase decisions of other people, because they know that we tend to say yes when we see 4 stars, 4.5 stars, etc. Right? It's a psychological it's a psychological theory that explains this. And also another example that I believe I talked about with 42F. Authorities leveraged by companies like TELUS Health, which highlights its expertise in healthcare technology to build trust with clients. And that's another example of how we persuade people, etc., etc. Now, to finish this first part of week 9's class, I'm going to ask you to actually ask ChatGPT. Okay, so you can add this to your notes, please. Pause it. Well, actually, I'm going to finish this video and I'm going to record the second part in another video. So when I finish this video, this is the last slide of this first part, go to AI, okay, ChatGPT or DeepSeek, and ask DeepSeek or AI to give you some short, real-life examples of the 6 principles of Cialdini's principles of persuasion, of course, in real-life project management situations. Like give me a little example of scarcity. Give me a little example of how I can see this in a negotiation in project management, all right? So your prompt can be something like, okay, I would like to understand the 6 principles, Cialdini's 6 principles of persuasion. Could you give me very simple, basic examples on project management environments, okay, that might help me understand these principles? Read them, take your time, take your notes, and I will see you in the second part of our class. You can take a break after you ask ChatGPT or AI. Go get coffee. I'm going to go get coffee myself, and I'll see you in the second part of this class. Bye-bye.